Everyone. My name is Sarah Keith. I am a Knox County resident. I am applying for this board because public service is in the fabric of who I am. I saw this opportunity to serve on this board, and it was frankly too good of an opportunity to pass up attempting to serve my community in this way. You have a copy of my resume. I've spent the past 16 years working as a lawyer. The vast majority of that was in the prosecutor's office in this county and in other counties. So I've had the opportunity through that to review law enforcement actions every single day. I'm currently working in private practice doing criminal and civil, and so that continues where I'm reviewing actions every single day and trying to do that obviously in my prosecution experience as objectively as possible on each and every case, because those things matter to the people and the parties involved. And that's certainly analogous to this situation and what I would be doing as a member of this merit council. Each and every person who comes forward to either apply for a job, apply for a promotion, who maybe was demoted or is facing dismissal, deserves to have that heard fairly and objectively. And that is important not only for those individuals who are facing promotion, hiring, or discipline. It's profoundly important. It's hard to overstate the importance of what that is to the culture of the department as well, because they all see how each person's treated, and that matters collectively. And so now we expand that. That doesn't just matter to that department. That matters to our community, because how our law enforcement culture and progress is how we interact every single day. How law enforcement operates affects each and every single one of us every single day, even if we don't have a personal encounter with a law enforcement officer every day. You know, it's the community we live in, and those things matter. And so we look at the big forest of our community from that, and then we have to take it back down and look at the trees for each of those individuals who are facing a hiring, a firing, or a dismissal, or a promotion type of decision. And those have to be taken with all seriousness and the gravity that each of those individuals and that our departments and our community deserves on each of those. And I believe that I have the experience to do that. I have tremendous respect for our law enforcement. I've been in the opportunity to work side by side with them and go to court fighting for, supporting the work they had done. I've also had the opportunity to look at cases and had to determine that they acted improperly in those cases and make those decisions where it may have even resulted in charges against a law enforcement officer. I believe that I have the experience to do this fairly and objectively. And again, I believe that's what each person deserves, is that they have their day, they are evaluated appropriately, we have policies enacted that are best practices for the law enforcement officers and for our community to, again, enhance the integrity. The opportunity to support our community in this matter and contribute to the integrity of our law enforcement, again, was an opportunity too good to pass. It's a tremendous public service opportunity, and I appreciate you giving me the chance to address my qualifications for that and my desire to serve on the board.
Thank you, Ms. Keith. Commissioner Oster.
Thank you, Ms. Keith. I've actually already talked to a couple of the applicants from last month, so since you're new, I wanted to ask you a couple of things. I do appreciate you taking your time to come down here. It's very important to me. This board is pretty important to me as I just rolled off of it, and I know the importance for our officers. You do understand that this Merit Council is strictly to protect the officers. It has nothing to do with any sheriff that is in place.
Certainly. This is something where the officers are taking their appeals to this board, and again, the board setting up policies that are best practices for those law enforcement officers. Yes.
Okay. I think this board is probably, this council will probably have to look at a few things that they've not had to deal with in the past, as far as we are dealing with retention. We're dealing with being able to get officers to come into the field. And I think the Merit Council is probably going to have to do some things that they maybe not have done in the past to encourage the retention or encourage people coming in. Do you have any ideas of things that you could do with that?
Well, I think the easiest answer in the way to say something, but the hardest answer in actually implementing is increase salaries, increase benefits. That's easier said than done. Of course, I know looking at any budgetary board, the standard of living, the respect that officers get, any sort of benefits, all of those things contribute to how much respect they get for the job. I don't think that anyone who goes into law enforcement is going into it for the big salary. They're there because typically they have an idea that they want to serve the community in that way. And so, again, the easier answer is put money at something. The harder answer is giving them the respect they deserve, again, big picture and on an individual basis, because they're not doing it to get a big, huge retirement, to get rich, and they're not doing it for a ticker tape parade. But I think that my interactions with law enforcement officers, each one of them care about respect. Each one of them care about doing what's right and people recognizing the work that they put in. And so we can look at other opportunities to show respect to people that can be benefit to them, because people generally, you can have a great salary, but if you hate your boss or you hate the environment you're in and your coworkers, you're not going to stay. You can have a salary where you can live and love the environment you're in, love your coworkers, love your administration, and it can make all the difference in the world. So there's situations like that where we could really be looking outside the box, looking at what other departments are doing locally, but also nationwide, and see what's working, see what's not working. There's no sense in reinventing the wheel in a lot of those situations when, we can look and see what's something that's plausible to implement here and what's best in the resources that we have.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you again for coming down here. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you, Commissioner Oster. Commissioner Frazier?
Thank you, Ms. Keith, for coming down. Out of all fairness, you really have answered my first question about, tell me in your own words, about the responsibility. Have you had a chance to read the policies and procedures?
I have, ma'am.
Okay. And my other question for you is, are you aware of the roles and responsibilities of the merit system staff, and would you be willing to support them?
In a survey type of situation, yes. In a nitty-gritty, obviously there's a lot of that comes with the experience of serving on that board. But am I willing to support? Of course. That's part of the job, that communication, the professionalism, the day-to-day work that comes with that, and being responsive to a staff. It's oversight. It's all of those different things. Ideally working together to, again, make the board go forward. Progress working toward the common goal of supporting law enforcement and having a fair implementation of policies. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Frazier. Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Keith, for applying. Do you believe it's important to follow our nation and county's laws?
Yes.
Do you believe it's important to follow laws even if you don't personally believe in or agree with them?
Yes, and as someone who has worked in the legal field for 16 years, I can say there are laws I've agreed with and supported fully, and that's a whole lot easier. And there are laws that I've disagreed with, but it hasn't been my position to, go counter to that. There's a process. If someone doesn't like a law or a policy or an ordinance, to change that in a situation of the context of a merit board, it is certainly not the role of anyone on the merit board to let's say, go rogue or try to change any type of statute, ordinance, or policy individually. And so, yes, I believe that even if I disagree with the law, it is important to still obey and come in compliance with our laws in this state and country.
If elected to serve as a volunteer on the Merit System Board, will you abide by Section 4253C2 of the ordinance that governs this merit system body and cease from participation in all political activity as outlined?
Yes, again, I think that is a reasonable ask for people who are supposed to be evaluating things objectively. It avoids appearance of impropriety, and I understand the motivation behind that type of regulation, and yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jay. Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say thank you, Ms. Keith, for your willingness to serve. I have worked with you, and though we haven't always been on the same side, you are a person of good character and you do have the ability to call balls and strikes, and I do appreciate you having the willingness to serve.
Thank you very much.
Any other commissioners have anything for Ms. Keith? Thank you, Ms. Keith.
Thank
and
you.
We will see you on Monday.
I appreciate it.